Good afternoon. On behalf of QUBE Events and the Cfo ICPAC Committee, I'd like to welcome you all to part 2 of the Finance Leaders webinar series, Driving Performance. We're so excited. We have an action-packed agenda for you all today. We have a record number of participants, which is really exciting because we're hoping that you all participate, engage, ask questions. We have polls prepared, so we hope that you do present your opinions in the polls as well. We'd love to hear that. We'd love to see you engage. We've got 2.5 hours ahead of us. We have a power session at the end, so we really hope that you stay on till the end of the session because we'd really like you all to benefit from this amazing trainer that's joined us for today's event. I'd like to thank all our speakers from all over Europe for participating today, for their contributions, for their insights. I'd like to very much thank RCB Bank, who is powering the Finance Leaders webinar series. So thank you very much to RCB Bank. We really appreciate their support. I'd like to thank the QUBE team for everything that they've done in putting this together. Marta is joining us on the stage for everything she's done with creating this amazing agenda and getting us all organized for today. So, and to all the team that's behind the scenes, thank you to everyone for their contributions. I'd like to hand over to Christos Travelis, who's the chairman of the Cfo Committee, to say a few words. And then I will introduce Harry Xenophontis, who is our chairman for today's event. So thank you to all of you. Thank you to everyone for participating. Please, we have an amazing agenda, and I look forward to having a great event with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Good afternoon to everybody. On behalf of ICPAC and the Cfo Committee, I would also like to welcome you to this webinar. This webinar is the second of a series of 3 that ICPAC Cfo Committee is organizing in cooperation with QUBE Events. In this radically changing environment that we are all currently living, the CFO is facing even more challenges. And to be able to cope with the ever-increasing demands, other than the need to be agile, adaptive, multi-skilled, a CFO needs also to be informed. I am sure that our speakers, who will be sharing with us their knowledge and experience, will be contributing in this direction. Now, before proceeding with the webinar, please allow me to say a few words for the Cfo Committee. The Cfo Committee was established 5 years ago under the umbrella of ICPAC with the aspiration of creating a channel of communication with the CFOs and finance people in general. Part of its activities it's to support the Cfo community with targeted webinars and conferences, as well as through programs such as the mentor program that will be presented very shortly by Sophocles. Lastly, I would like to, with my turn, to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your participation, and a big thank you to QUBE Events for organizing things, and to our speakers for the time and effort they have put into this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christos. That's amazing. Thank you for those great words. Now, Harry Xenophontis, our chairman, thank you so much. We're handing over to you to kick us off with a few words. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Christos, for the welcoming. Thanks, Marta. It is indeed a great pleasure to be here again for part 2. We had such a lovely time on the first part, you know, for the future of finance, leading the future. We had a great success, and I'm glad to see that a lot of those participants are here today with us for part 2, which means we did good. Plus, we have new faces. We have you know, new people registered, and we all hope to see you in part 3 as well. We do have a great agenda to follow on leading the future, which we talked about strategy, we talked about business partnering, the role of the CFO, the role of the finance function into the organizational strategy and an internal partnering with the rest of the organization. Today, we will focus more on driving performance regarding business growth and how these finance leaders were actually, you know, implementing strategy or following up in the big digitalization initiatives, return of investments, and intelligence enterprise and all these aspects that help drive performance. We thank QUBE Events, and we are proud as RCB Bank supporting and powering this event, this series of events, along with ICPAC. We work with CFOs and finance leaders of our clients every day, and we are definitely proud to be, co-organizing such events and standing next to them on any aspect, on any need. Our role as RCB, our approach is definitely working with them as partners and not necessarily treating them as clients. This is a big, let's say, it's important for us, and we're happy to be here. Actually, it's worth mentioning that RCB is also this year having its 25th year as a Cypriot incorporated bank. So it's important that to mention also that our strategy is also to grow more within the Cypriot market, and to work more with the market, the CFOs and ICPAC members. Very good, very good. Now we can jump on the agenda. A few logistical items. As I just mentioned in the chat, feel free, everyone, to just drop a line, say hi, raise a question, or make a comment, mention something that you may want to hear about either today, or one of the speakers may look at, maybe he will point something out, or in a future event. Also, we have the questions tab. The questions tab, please raise questions, try to engage, try to participate. If there was a way for everyone, all 115 participants to speak today, we would have made this happen, because we want everybody to engage. I know it's not as easy when we're online, but let's try to keep engaged. We'll try to make this fun, transition smoothly, quickly, and stay on focus, stay to the point, as well as stay on time. We do appreciate, and we're definitely careful on the time, so that we cover all the topics, all the speakers properly. Finally, there will be polls. We will please answer the polls, and then we'll go through the answers during the coffee break. As well as there is a tab with people where you can search for colleagues. You can try to network. You can, as if we're in a big conference. Okay. Now, starting our agenda, we will start with driving business growth. Now, if I take this opportunity to welcome on stage, thank you, Lily, thank you, Christos. I will welcome on stage our panelists. We do have an esteemed lineup of speakers here today with us. Let's see one by one. Hi, Michalis.
Hello,
Michalis.
hi.
Michalis Avtaridis is joining us from Ireland, actually. Michalis is working for Google, Group Finance Operations Manager. Michalis has come all the way from his career from Procter & Gamble to Microsoft, now Google. I appreciate that he will share some expert advice or some tips from his knowledge and experience. We have Lana. Hi, Lana.
Hi, hello everyone. Hello, Harry.
Lana Vukovic. She's working in Serbia and Croatia as a finance director at a technology company in DXC.
That's correct.
Her background from HP, Holland Packard, as well as Sanofi Aventis, a huge pharmaceutical, to another big, technology manufacturing company, and now to DXC. It's such a pleasure having you. Christakis, hi, how are you today?
Hi, I'm very well.
Hi, Christakis is here with us in Cyprus, but he's Deputy Group CFO of a multi-company group that is basically from insurance to reinsurance to banking institution and many other related companies. So it's great to having you here. And hi, Iria, how are you today?
Hi, hello.
Iria joined us from Madrid. Hi, Iria. Iria has been 20 years with Coca-Cola, so there's a lot to hear. We were lucky that we had Iria with us in the last event as well. It was such a pleasure to hear from Iria in regards to leading strategy and how the CFO role was involved in strategy. Now, driving business growth. I'm going to start into the topic, and then while we're at it, we will. You can mention even more about your experience or give us example. Definitely, for today's enterprise, implementing digital technologies is not enough to succeed. We need to use digital as a comprehensive shift that touches every aspect of the business. Lana, you're from a technology company, right? So
yes, that's right.
So what is your view? How do you see the finance function from the technology company into this? Tell us your view.
Well, I thank you very much, Harry. I'm working in DXC Technology, and DXC, it stands for Digital Transformation Company. So everything we do is digital transformation because we are providing the services to our client and helping them to digitally transform. And what I think that will bring add value to this event is to share a little bit in short what is digital transformation for me, because it is not only adopting the new technologies. It means that you fundamentally transform your business and that you tackle every aspect of the business. So it means from leadership style to products and services. It means that the start of digital transformation starts with creating a culture that is capable to respond to continuous change, because digital transformation is not one-off process. Digital transformation means that once you digitally transform, you're ready to quickly adapt to new changes. And the role of CFO is crucial. Even from the CFO today, we are asked to develop double dip skills, not only to have expertise in finance, but also to develop digital skills to be able to understand the consequences and the business model of a digitally transformed company. So a lot of things to learn in this area. What I would also like to share is that we have the new currency. So what we call in our company, the new currency is information. But we need to be very careful, because whenever you have currency, you can have falsificates. So the information needs to be filtered, and actually the enterprise needs to rethink how information flows, how to promote the right information, and how to govern its usage and protection. So this is crucial in transformation of the company in digital transformation. What I also want to mention is that the new digitally transformed company changed the operating platform. They have what we call digital platform. And this digital platform enables the free flow of information that can be accessed securely by anyone in the company at any time, by any device, and anywhere in the world. So this is what the digital transformation is bringing. And of course, this is the value creation, but I will stop here and we can continue later.
Okay, thank you, Lana. Thank you, Lion. So if I take away, digital transformation would definitely drive business growth, right? Christakis, what is your view on that? Is digital transformation a fact?
Absolutely. Thank you, Harry. Before I start, I want really to state that this is a great pleasure for me today to be here, and very happy to see that the initiative of the CFO Committee is really taking shape and form through this webinar with something great. Really, I will fully agree with what Lana said. Today, we are going digital by default. Companies that don't consider the technology and the digitalization, I think they will be left behind. Today, we're talking about the new business model. Growth will be driven through new business model. Technology is just the enabler. The business world is shaken and reshaped because of this change. And behind every digital device, there is a user, there is a customer. Companies, medium-sized companies, small companies that in the past they didn't even consider to have global scale audience, today they can easily access through the digital world, through the internet, customers in the other corner of the world. This is something surprising, this is something impressive. So we have, all the companies have to put in their business model digitalization. Now, about the growth. Growth today is not coming just by a successful product. Growth is coming outside the corporation. It's coming from the customers. Why? Because the customers today, with the reception of all this information around them through social media, through the internet, they have very high expectations. And today, customers, they want experiences which are constant, continuous, and customized. So the companies have to really hear their customers, blend this with the technology and their business model, and all this together with the information that is derived through all this process, they can really target to the growth. And I can give you a simple example from the insurance industry, just for you to understand. In the past, when somebody had a car accident, he should call the insurance agent. Somebody should have come to the accident scene with some paper forms to take some details, to take some photos, then go back to the office, register this into the system, wait until he gets feedback from the companies who sell the spare parts to assess the damage, then to go back and give feedback to his manager, and then goes on and on until it reaches to the customer. Maybe 2-3 weeks we are going to pass. Today, the process is fully automated. The agent is going to the accident scene with a digital device, takes photos, completes everything electronically in a matter of minutes. This information is going back to the back office. The back office processes the information very quickly in some very advanced occasions with very strong companies in the market. AI assesses automatically the damages, contacts the suppliers of the spare parts, and within few hours the claim is assessed and processed, which this is something extremely impressive. Now, about the growth. Throughout all this digitalizing the process, it would helps, better serve the customer, which drives business growth. Yes, of course, this is the one thing. The experience of the customer is much more quicker and the service is immediate. All right, I like that. So let's pause on this and then we'll come back to the customer experience because it's definitely important reason for growth. Thank you, Christakis, and actually reminds me to mention that Christakis is also a member of the CFO Committee of ICPAC. So we really appreciate the contribution of ICPAC and actually Christakis that is also sitting in our panel. We will come back to it. Michalis, from your side, I mean, okay, Google is digitalizing everywhere. It's digitalizing everybody, definitely. Let's go to the basics then. What are, in your let's say, point of view, the key pillars of driving business growth? And what are, I mean,
obviously digitalization is important, but what are the key pillars and what do you think is the most important for driving business growth?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you very much from my side also and for the invitation. Like we look at Google, we look at the digitalization, the digital transformation and growth in 4 pillars, right? The one is really engaging our customers and partners, meaning that we give them the best, most advanced services that they love. Innovating the products, meaning we have the products in the market which provide the best service at the biggest competitive advantage. And at the same time, we try to optimize operations internally and for our partners, meaning that we try to automate as many things as possible so that strategic decision making and everything happens in a very fast way, in a very effective way. And at the same time, and which I consider also the most important thing, is really empowering people. When I mean empowering people, meaning creating a culture where we create jobs and we create a culture which is really value-adding. So that meaning like really eliminating all the tasks, all the admin work, or all the tasks which are non-high value-adding, but really making our people, both from our employees, but from our partners and customers also, that they feel that they do something which is really important, not something that only drives growth, but something really that can actually change the world and even make it, let's say, at a better place, right?
Mihaly, I think we're...
Sorry? Can you hear me, Harry?
Go on. I think that he has some connection issues.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Now, on especially I think on the digitalization part, one of the bits that where we're really investing also as a company is that the cloud technology, right? And this is where we invest a lot with our partners and customers, because if you want to be really a fully digital, like a fully digital company, you cannot still be sitting on premises technology. Everything will have to go on cloud, because the scalability and the processes and tools that cloud can give you as technology and as an infrastructure, it will be able to give you a head advance, a head game in front of your competition, right? And I can just maybe give a very simple example of how cloud infrastructure and cloud technology can give an advantage to a CFO, but overall as a company as a growth. So if I can just illustrate it in a very simple way, if you can just imagine, let's say, 2 icebergs, right, on the sea, and you have the one iceberg is your like typical software license on premises technology. The other iceberg is your cloud technology. If you look above the sea level, the icebergs, like the peaks of the icebergs, make it look of a similar size. Like the one hand side, you have your software licenses cost of the on-premises technology, and on the other hand side, you have your peak, which is your subscription fee. So if you look at this in this, like, let's say, narrow way, you will say, then maybe, what I pay for cloud is the same that I pay for software license, so it doesn't really make sense for me to do that. However, if, let's say, you go below the sea level and you really see all the hidden costs that they are between the 2 options, you see that on the cloud technology, from a cost perspective, you have nothing else except just, any customization that you may need. But from an on-premises technology, you have, let's say, your hardware, your IT personnel, your customization, your training, a million other things that they create you a massive amount of OPEX spend that you can actually, as a CFO, save and actually throw it in your R&D or your revenue growth or your product development, on many other items where you can actually drive significant growth and give you a competitive advantage in the market, right? So what we're trying ourselves as a company is, as finance professionals, really working on the front line with the business and explaining and try to help our partners and customers and the CTOs and CFOs of the scalability of the technology and the tools and all the extra advantages that the technology like cloud gives them to be able to compete in the market and really truly go digital, rather than partially go digital or believe that they're going digital just by, let's say, copy pasting the same processes they have right now on an on-premises technology.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Mihaly. So I can take 2 key takeaways. Empowering employees, being very important. I like that, and I totally agree, because you need your employees engaged to help grow the business, for sure. And also, I like the tip about, and the advice to colleagues regarding finding the hidden cost of on-premise solutions. And definitely saving money and investing elsewhere, it's definitely something that will help the growth. Iria, hi.
Hi.
So 20 years in Coca-Cola, what is your digital strategy there? I mean, tell us how you're shifting. I mean, from, you know, Coca-Cola has been around for, you know, many years, right? And it has to keep up, you know, constantly with all these, you know, technology changes, digitization first, then digitalization, then, you know, and driving growth and keeping up. But tell us about it. I mean, what about, you know, the applications, the workplace, your analytics, your everything?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for inviting me and for giving me this opportunity to share with the audience. I mean, us in Coke, I think as everywhere else, we need to digitize, and we need to digitize everything, right? As my esteemed colleagues were sharing before. So I will not talk about data or cloud or information, because I think that we already shared. I just want to mention a couple of concepts. One is that digitizing or digitalizing needs to be internal and external. That means we need to digitize ourselves as a company. So we need to to have digital ways of working, digital ways of communicating, digital ways of managing our processes, digital. But also we need to start making our relations with our customers, with our clients, with our vendors digital as well. So we need to digitize internally and externally as well. And that's complicated because both need to talk to each other. You cannot live in separate worlds, right? So whatever we make internally for us, for our associates, for our bottlers, needs also to work with our vendors, with our customers, with our clients. So that's one of the big challenges that we are kind of trying to, to solve now. And the other matter that I wanted to discuss, which I think was not discussed before, is about the workforce and the age gap. And technology is great, and obviously it's in or out, in my opinion. So it's not an alternative. Should I digitize? No, you need to digitize, and if you don't, you are out. So I think that this digital transformation is a must, but we have a lot of clients and a lot of associates that are not so so digital themselves, because probably they are from an older generation, and we cannot leave those behind, neither clients or customers or vendors or associates, everything. And I think one of the challenges that we all should be thinking about is all of this self-service and all of this learn yourself and go to YouTube, I don't know, and check for a video, and that may not be for everyone. So we need to, to bring this technology to everyone, and the ways of doing that may differ depending on who. So I think that's just food for thought, but that's something that I think we all should be, considering as well. Sometimes we forget that we are, we have a vast, base of customers, of associates, and we need to make that accessible to all of them, if possible. So
yes,
thank
definitely.
you.
Iria, thank you. I mean, it's definitely food for thought. I mean, the customer, and I'm going to jump back to Christakis on this, because it transitions to what you just mentioned, and Christakis emphasized the importance of customer experience. We could say that the business growth is driven by the customer. Yes, Christakis, can you elaborate further on that? The importance of how the customers are driving, are driving us, and how important that is.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. The customers, with the power of technology, can drive the growth consciously and unconsciously. And why I say this? Consciously is when you receive feedback from customers voluntarily, when you are asking your customers to give them your feedback, or when they reach to a stage that they want to do a complaint. So you can manage, let's say, the experience from that side of things, but also through the whole spectrum of automation of all these processes. And I would really agree with Iria that automation should be, digitalization should not be only at the company's level, but it would be also on the front end and back end across all the value chain. Throughout all this process, you exchange really significant amount of information, and really through all this information, the organization and the CFO, let's say, can really analyze all this information and reach to conclusions about the customer's behavior. When are the customers buying these products? In which areas? Let's say if I go back to the example of insurance products. Nowadays, insurance companies, they are assessing, let's say if you want to insure your house, they are receiving data about the location of the house, about the criminal activity in the house, which this, in the area of the house. So this gives more insights about the proper pricing that should be put on that product. And in other areas where the criminal activity, let's say, is less, this premium can be returned to the customer through some discount, because maybe in that area there is more quiet, so why the customer to pay that extra premium over?
Definitely. So a lot of more data. Yes, a lot more data through the digitalization, a lot more things that you can analyze. I mean, Mihaly, thanks you, Christakis. Mihaly, I will transition to you on this, because Google is analyzing data, and it's, I mean, perhaps how is your finance operations, where you work within Google, actually utilizing the data? Because it's one thing if you're using data for the customers, but what about for your own business growth? Maybe the systems you use, predictive modeling, how's that, and how that can help our audience on their own companies? Because
absolutely.
Obviously, they're not all as big as Google.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there's two sides, right, on this one. The one is really the technology. Let's say, for example, in the predictive modeling, where we use a lot ourselves for our sales pipeline, our pipeline forecast, or even from a risk and compliance perspective. We do see, like, from a customer perspective, we do see the data, through the search engines and everything, and try then really to tailor our engines of revenue, for example, like which are going to be the advertisements through YouTube or through the Google search engine, really to tailor on the needs of the customers, right? So because at the end of the day, it really, when we make relevant, when we bring relevancy to our systems, it actually saves a lot of time for the customer himself or herself, but at the same time, it actually makes the marketing effective for our partners and business customers. At the same time, I think the whole analytical piece, it creates a completely shift in in the skills of our profession also, right? Like today, a finance professional, it's not enough just to be a regular accountant or someone who has a finance degree. With the technicalities and the technology and the needs of the market and the needs that we have today, we even look at hiring people and having people which are experts, let's say, in programming languages like SQL or R or Python, and really being able to leverage and bring decisions and make conclusions for all audiences through sorting and interpreting very large amount of data. Because data today is like the oil of the past, right? It's probably the most valuable commodity at this point, and you need people and skills that they can actually translate those data in a very short time, in a very easy way for everybody to understand. And I can just give you a very simple example of what we do today, right? And has helped out a lot from a business perspective. Let's say an account manager has a meeting with a client right now, and they need to access some pricing information in the meeting, or they need something from anything that it's related to finance that they didn't have at hand before. What it would happen, maybe they would need a second meeting in the past or a third meeting. Then finance, we need to do a lot of spreadsheet work, analysis, and bring some conclusions on an offer or a pricing strategy that we need. Right now, we reach the point where using like a visual technology and BI and business intelligence technology, together with programming languages like SQL or R, we can actually manipulate huge amount of data in visual tools, accessed real time from everywhere at any point in a very easy way to understand. So the account manager, for example, in that meeting, when a question is posed, he just takes out his phone or her phone. They just, with a click of a button, within seconds, they have the answer in their phone that they can give to the customer. Fast, strategic decision making. The deal is closed, done. Move to the next one. So really, it helps both us as a supplier of the service, but also the customer and our partner to move forward faster in the strategic decision making. So I think our profession, especially moving forward from a skills perspective, it has to be just finance anymore. It has to be really a change lead and kind of with a bit of a dose of data science in there also, and that helps.
This is fascinating. This is fascinating indeed. I mean, in a nutshell, you have a finance function that has IT background and experience working into, analyzing data and actually feeding information and to the business front lines. So basically, doing business development or supporting the front end and having a more cross-functional role with the organization. That is, I can see that, the finance of the future, definitely.
It is, and it has to be that way because we are living in a unprecedented change of pace right now. Like if you look at the S&P 500, if you look at the 20s, 30s, an average lifetime of a company back at the time would be 67 years, if I'm not mistaken. Today's average lifespan of the company is almost 10 years, right? So it's because the pace is so much different because of technology, we have to adapt on it, and we have to adapt our skills, both for our companies and our customers at the same point, right? So we'll have to, to keep with the pace to be able to survive.
It's so true. Even for us, for example, as a bank that working with corporate clients and the CFOs, we go, even our business development team needs to have technical background because they're talking with the CFOs and they end up talking about APIs and interfaces, feeding data, connecting to the open banking, grabbing online their transactions, automating their reconciliations. This is important for them, and that's what the finance function needs.
And I think, sorry for this one. I know that I'm going probably ahead of my time, but I think it goes really back then to empowering people, right? And empowering our people, because this is where you create also value for your company and for your people, where they can see that they do things that through technology and through digitalization, where it really drives value, right? So you, like someone who is going to run a SQL database, for example, or an analysis or a visual BI tool that is going to give an account manager the possibility to close a multi-million-dollar deal in much shorter time than before, then really someone working at the back end is really driving growth with someone at the front end, right? So it's really an end-to-end interaction on this one.
Definitely. All right, in our last 2 minutes, I want to go back to Lana and talk about return of investment. Definitely we've talked about, empowering our people, engaging customers for sure, but digitalization and all these, investments, are we doing it just for the fact that, yes, digitalization will bring us value? Just because we know it, or have we calculated, budgets and return on the investment, and how do we monitor that to ensure that it actually happens? Because everything keeps changing, and even if we start digitalizing something now, we'll continue doing it. How do we look back to see if it actually given value or growth, or if it will actually, save any cost or make more revenue?
Yes, it is a very difficult role of CFO nowadays because we need to digitize and we need to secure the funds for digital innovation, which is very difficult to actually, you are from the banking, so how can I convince you to give me the loan if you don't know what is my future product? So this is really something that is very difficult. And when you are dealing with uncertainty, the risk is very high. So CFO needs to de-risk technology investment. But when I have this question, so to explain how this will bring value, I just come back to the basics and to try to simplify, and then I'm clear what I want what message I want to send, and I will share this with you. So when we are speaking about actually the outcome of digital transformation, logically we need top line growth. Everyone will understand this. We need cost-based improvements to decrease the operational costs, and we need optimization of business processes. And if we think in these terms, then we come to that, how you are going to increase your top line. You will have a digital platform, better access to customers, you will acquire new customers, you will have shorter access to the customers through these digital platforms. So this is something that is really measurable, and that you can create a model, financial model, that will prove what will be your return on this investment. The same is when we are speaking about cost optimization. When you optimize the processes, include robotic process automatization, reduce the time you spend on non-selling activities, you have more time for innovation, for designing new products. So, I mean, in simple words and for this short time, I think that I explained how we are dealing with this. Unfortunately, company need to reduce operating costs to invest in digitalization. And what we are seeing now is legal entity rationalization projects all over the world, office space optimization, workforce reduction. But that is the price we have to pay for digitalization. As Iria said, it is not whether we want to digitize or not, it is a must.
Okay, so in general, I mean, some as a last comment, as a last, let's say, information to our audience is not just look at cost optimization, but in the same way, look at investing into increasing, your revenues, into making, adding value, into growing your business. Before we close, there's a question from the audience from Warik Kanan. If I may read it, how does one seamlessly coordinate between the inputs from the business leaders and customers on digital requirements on one hand, and the implementation of the digital solution on the other? Do you find that valuable inputs are lost in the process?
Maybe I can take this one, if you don't mind, but of course everyone can comment. What is the trend now is that companies are creating digital management offices, and they are dealing with digital transformation, and there is D-level management. So, and D-level is above C-level because digital transformation officer is above CEO, because they are creating the future for the company. And this question is actually the outcome of this complexity of digital transformation process. So it is true that one cannot deal with this. There is a team, and that's why there are skilled digital consultants who are partnering with the companies in this process of digital transformation. And it is not, as I said, one-off process. Once you digitally transform, you're ready to improve and to apply new digital technology improvements on your digital platform.
Thank you.
Of course,
Thank
everyone
you,
else can comment.
Thank you, everybody. Anybody else have a comment on this area, maybe? Or?
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say that in our case, for example, in terms of structure, we are kind of replicating what our colleague from Google was saying. We do have IT and financial services together under the same umbrella, let's say, which obviously it's a very clear message to everyone that the future is a combination of the financial, let's say, capabilities and skill, the traditional accounting, planning, blah, 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 together with the business intelligence, the data analytics, the clouds, all that, so that together we can build the future. So I think, that's one comment. And in terms of what Lana was saying and the question from the audience, clearly that is the challenge, right? Not to allow things get lost in translation, and not to listen the voice of the customer and get lost in our own digital transformation without listening to the customer. So to his questions, I think it's crucial, it's key to really make sure that the voice of the customer is heard, and that we do not take the decisions because we think it's what's better, because it may not work. So, it's a very, very good question, and something that we all need to keep, focused on.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you all. It was such a pleasure having you. Thanks for your time. And now we're gonna have to smoothly transition into our next panel, basically a chat, one-on-one discussion with live Q&A for financial insights. So if I can have on stage Alice Oblak, the CFO of Adriatics, the Adecco Group, and Dr. Barnabas ACS, Sustainable Finance Global Business Development Director at Refinitiv. Hi, Barnabas.
Hello, guys.
Hi, Alice. Hi.
Hi, Barnabas.
I would leave you two on it. I will be getting off stage. Please, if I don't know if you want, I can stay for a short introduction. Barnabas, you might want to say a few words about your background and what brings you here today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hi, guys. Pleasure being here. I'm Barnabas Ax, as mentioned by Harry, Global Business Development Director for Sustainable Finance at Refinitiv. It's a financial data and solutions provider, including a vast amount of sustainability data, ratings, and analytics. I have spent the first and last 5 years of my career dealing with the multiple stakeholders of sustainability, including corporates, of course, and the incentives for them to embark on the sustainability journey. And of course, happy to discuss how this relates to Finance 2.0 on the side of us.
Excellent. Alice, nice to see you again. Pleasure having you.
Thank
Give
you.
us a few words about yourself and your background, please.
Okay, thanks, and thanks for inviting me. I'm really pleasure to be with everybody today. So my role is the CFO of Adecco Adriatics. You know Adecco as the, let's say, leading HR partners for the top companies. I have been in this role for 2 years. I am leading the finance and back office organization, supporting the business in driving profitable growth, driving compliance culture, and streamline processes, efficiencies, etc. And I'm really happy to be here to share with you the financial insights and to Finance 2.0 insights.
Excellent. I will be off stage. We lost Barnabas. Maybe we can get him back. just right when I was getting off, he disappeared. Here he is. He's coming back. Welcome back. Okay.
Hopefully, technology is going to be on our side today.
Yes. All right. I will be back on when your time is up, so you can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Introduction. Refer back to Michele's data is the new oil kind of comment, which of course I very much like. What are the new skills you are looking for when hiring in your Finance 2.0 team?
Okay, thank you, Barnabas. This is really a good question, and in almost yeah, can you hear me?
It does?
Yeah, it seems we have some technical issues. I can hear you, Barnabas. Okay. Barnabas, I think the issue is on your side. Okay, so let me explain to the audience, what kind of skill set I'm looking in the finance organization when hiring in the Finance 2.0 organization. In my almost 20 years in the finance career, in the last 6 months, I have seen the biggest change in the finance workforce. In the past, as mentioned also with the previous panels, it was really important, how finance is doing with the integrity, US GAAP, IFRS skills, data analytical skills, etc. But now it's really importance to be flexible in the environment, that people can work from office, they can work from remote, that they are self-driven. There is no more day-to-day management of the people. People have to know what are their roles, what are their tasks, when it has to be completed. It's really important they cross the finish line, and they ask for help in case any help it's needed from the leader. But we are really looking for the people that can self-drive in the organization. And it's not only with the new workforce, it's also important for the existing workforce that we have in the finance organization, so that they're also willing to upskill, reskill. New skills, new competencies are emerging, and it's really important for the finance organization to be up to date with all this. Of course, due to the recent events, it's also important this stress resilience. That people, despite the let's say bad information in the newspapers, in the television, that people are able to work and they forget all what is happening, just to make sure that the work is delivered. Remote work, as mentioned already earlier, it's becoming more and more important. And of course, business continuity. We have to pay the suppliers, we have to pay the taxes, we have to pay the salaries, just to make sure that all the organizations in the finance team it's working. Barnabas, are you now back with us?
I should be, I hope. Can you hear me?
Okay, let me see. Okay. So yeah, that was maybe the question from my.
Hi, Alice. You can hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
We can hear you, Barnabas. If you can hear me, you may proceed.
Yeah, I can hear you guys, so it's fine.
Okay. Very good. So what was the question again, Alice, for Barnabas?
Okay. Barnabas, my question to you is, what role does sustainability play in Finance 2.0, and what are the challenges and what are the needs to be considered?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Thank you. I think there are multiple angles of sustainability, how it relates to Finance 2.0, and how it if I consider finance, the next generation of finance is, of course, financing strategic objectives, and as such, sustainability comes into play quite early. The different drivers for sustainability are, if we think about it, there might be 4 or 5 of them. So one is, of course, the company purpose. There is always a need and a value creation for a set of customers, and of course there is another set of stakeholders who you don't want to be harmful to. The other aspect is of course the different industry initiatives. That is. Just somebody give me feedback if you can hear me. I've received chat points.
You can hear you. Yes. Yeah. Go on, Barnabas. Yeah.
Super. The other ones that of course stem from this company purpose is the industry initiatives. If you want to mention a few, like Women in Business, Science-Based Targets, and MacArthur Foundations, they are all relating to different initiatives, either on climate or circular economy, etc. So you need to join these for multiple purposes as well. The more important one in the whole kind of pressurizing situation is the investor owner push through stewardship activities, and we have seen actually quite many of these lately. And the direct effect of these is, of course, on the higher total cost of capital if you do not adhere to different pushes coming from the investors. And then the fourth one, which is the financial performance, in the sort of form of what gets measured, that gets managed kind of situation. There is a strong view, and of course more and more literature supports that sustainability, if applied well, definitely plays a role in efficiency and profitability increase. And always our friend, the regulatory environment, that's becoming a even more serious push nowadays. The EU non-financial reporting directive, the taxonomy, of course, the would affect about 6,000 companies in Europe only on the public listed space. So and if you think about China and Japan with the latest commitments to climate neutrality, we think that there is going to be an increased amount of pressure coming from the regulators in the close future. So there are a couple of factors that are driving the sustainability agenda, and of course, it is more effective if you try to implement this from the top down, i.e., from the C level, or as Ria said, from the D level, and the financial instruments that are coming into play here are actually offering quite many benefits in financing these different sustainability agendas, impact and transition to climate neutrality. The vehicles for this are, of course, in the loan format, the green loans and the sustainability linked loans. In the bond space, it's the sustainability linked bonds and green bonds as well, which are either project financing or issuer activity measuring financial vehicles. They tend to be actually quite cheaper. They are good for PR, and they give you time to finance all the kind of transition into a more sustainable future and company operations. So just checking.
Great. Yes, we can hear you. Great. Let's move to a question for Alice. Alice, Barnabas, can you raise a question?
Yes. Just continuing on what you said, also on the diversity and inclusion, Alice, how did the recent events change the decision-making process in your company?
Yeah, so the recent events, they really change how we start making the decisions. I think the biggest change that we are making, the decision has to be made very fast. World is changing. There is a let's say daily update what's going on. What it's really important as well, it's to communicate any change, any decision, that it's properly communicated to the team, to the let's say full organization, so that everybody it's aware. What we are seeing is that communication it's moving from face to face to virtual. People, finance organization, they need to have to use all the latest technology, especially during the crisis that is happening. I think one of the mottos that we have, don't waste the crisis, which means that we really have to be close to our customers, really have to learn and tailor their needs. And because we know once the let's say situation resolves, our customers will cherish and honor the suppliers that have been with them through the let's say the tough times. And we know with this strategy we can also grow our business in the future. Of course, what it's really important is that our employees are first, safety, etc. It's at the top importance, and of course responsibility. Any decision that it's made from the senior management, it needs to be executed, and of course everybody takes their responsibility and the ownership on this.
Thank you.
I have one question more for you, Barnabas. Is there a way to automate sustainability reporting?
I mean, I see that we are approaching the end of the time, so I'm trying to be short. I mean, there is, of course, light at the end of the tunnel. It is not easy, though, because it's quite many frameworks, regulatory jurisdictions. The data might not be available. You have to start creating them. The agenda of the operations and sustainability departments might not be always in parallel with each other. If you and of course, if you look at these new not new trends but new requirements, the factors that you mentioned about diversity and inclusion and safe workplace, and lately also about not just gender but racial equality, it's very important to understand that the data is not ready-made. That's not there. So it wasn't popular to collect data about race, and in many locations it's not even allowed to collect data. So you have to find ways to be able to gather or self-report these data so that you can actually go out there to the marketplace and say that, look, this is important for us. This is what the data show. This is what we are doing about safe working space. This is how we include different cultures, diversities, etc., etc. So you have the challenge of an ever-moving sustainability landscape as well in this space. However, if I think about the key aspects or steps in creating a sustainability-related reporting, that would be not too dissimilar from everything else. So you have to determine the scope of reporting, of course. Then you have to do the data collection and transformation itself. You have to actually check out of these how many do you share with the public. And you have to prepare the report and analytics and graphics around it so that they are telling and showing the change and the velocity of the change that you're applying, and then publish. So if you think about these 5 steps, most of them, especially with the application of different ERM systems and good planning, you can automate or at least semi-automate most of it, and you don't have to make it an always labor-intensive and ad hoc kind of exercise. If that's answering your question. And just on a side note, for example, we as, of course, financial data providers ourselves, we have made inroads into this challenge by basically creating a digital ESG data onboarding capacity where any sort of company can report their data to us and basically becoming the forefront of the financial market participants' attention. Thank you.
Very good. I don't know if you have something else to wrap up, Alice, maybe from your end. Yes, we're out of time, but we can take a minute to close the session if you like.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, just my key takeaway is, that finance organization, it's evolving. It's really important to have the best teams. To have the best teams in place, to also make sure that your employees are trained in the training, upskilling, and that they're always having the latest knowledge, and not only the finance, but also, let's say, soft skills.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Barnabas. Thank you both.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you, giving us the financial insights, and we'll be moving on. Hi, Lily.
Hi, just jumping in quickly just to add two words here. You should be seeing a People's tab in your right-hand column, so you can also see which of your peers are on. If you're not seeing the People tab, please quickly refresh your screens. We're ready to welcome Sophocles Timvios, the CFO of Swissport, who's going to be talking about the mentoring program. Such an exciting initiative. Thank you, Sophocles. Welcome. Great initiative, and we're having a great event so far. So please all, we ask you to engage, ask questions. I don't see much going on in the question column, so I'm going to put a bit of pressure on everybody to engage, and it just makes so much difference for people to show that you're there, that you're listening to what's going on, and your feedback is so important for us. So thank you. Good luck, Sophocles.
Get involved, people. Get involved. We're all one team here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you, Lily.
Okay, we'll leave you on.
Yeah.
I will do the introduction, but it's great having you again with such a prestige program, such an initiative that ICPAC has. Please take it away.
Thank you, Harry. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Sophocles Timvios. I'm the CFO for Swissport Cyprus. I'm also the head of finance for the Met region of Swissport. but I'm here in my capacity as a member of the Cfo Committee of ICPAC. I have been heavily involved with the committee since 2015. I'm the program leader for the Mentor program, and I'm here to talk to you about the program that we launched in 2019. It was an initiative of the Cfo Committee, and it was directed towards the members of ICPAC that either work in the industry or are planning to work in the industry. So phase A was completed earlier this year. It was done on a pilot basis, and we are now launching phase B. And in the next few minutes, I will try to give you as much info as possible and ask you if you are interested to participate in the next phase, either as a mentor or as a mentee. I would like to apologize in advance to any of you that participated in the first webinar, because this session will be to some extent a repeat of that one. But please bear with us, because we will have a very exciting mentor-mentee couple to talk to us in a few minutes. And then at the end of the session, hopefully we'll have some time to go through any of your questions. So mentoring. Now, mentoring is quite old. It started in ancient Greece a long time ago, where supposedly Socrates was the mentor for Plato. But much more recently, it has been introduced by a number of organizations in the US, in Europe, in Asia, as a development tool for their executives. The definition, or one of the definitions, is that mentoring is the informal transfer of knowledge, ideas, and support from the senior member in the relationship, the mentor, to the more junior member in the relationship, the mentee, information that is relevant to the career and professional development of the latter. But for me, the easiest way to describe it is through this story, where you have the mentor sitting at the top of a hill and having a 360 long distance visibility of what is around them, while the mentee is at the bottom of the hill and does not share the same visibility. Through mentoring, the mentor will help the mentee climb the hill, get the improved visibility, but then the direction that the mentee will take is going to be the mentee's decision and nobody else's. Now, it is a very effective development tool, and more or less, it involves a more senior person sharing their experiences and their learnings from their career with a junior member, providing support, providing advice and motivation, discussing options and agreeing goals and actions, so that the junior member, the mentee, can navigate through their career and fulfill their potential. A typical process and typical mentor process, and this is the process that we also followed in our mentor program, involves analyzing first the current situation, then evaluating any available options or investigating new ones if it is necessary, setting SMART goals. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and within a set timeline, and then agreeing an action plan and monitoring that action plan. Now, you hear a lot about mentoring. You also hear a lot about coaching. They are similar processes, and on the right of the slide, you see some elements of each. I will not go into the detail, but just to mention that mentoring is broader and more informal and longer term, while coaching is much more focused and specific. I believe that in our mentor program, we used mostly elements from mentoring, but also used some of the elements from coaching as well. Now, we started last year. It was, as I said, on a pilot basis. We did it with the cooperation and the support of Global Academy of Coaching and Jill Dugas, who is an expert in her field. So Jill assisted us in designing our program, setting it up. She did the training, and then she handled the administrative work that was involved with actually running the program. We decided at the beginning to have set criteria for selecting the mentors and the mentees. And we decided to start with 15 couples, 15 mentors and 15 mentees. So people were interested. They informed us, like we hope is going to happen again with phase B. We selected them. And then both mentors and mentees went through training. For the mentors, it was more extensive. It took a couple of days. For the mentees, it was much shorter and took just, I think, half a day. Following that, a very important step is actually following. It is the matching. So we have to avoid any conflict of interest. And we tried to find mentor and mentee that they would have some chemistry between them. And I think you'll see that actually in a minute. After the matching, in November of last year, we started our sessions. Phase A consisted of 6 sessions. So we went up to May 2020. We went through COVID, which made things pretty interesting. Some of the sessions were done virtually, but we did manage to complete the first phase successfully. And we're here now to talk about phase B. Something very important to mention is that the program is offered to the members for free. The training, which does cost a lot, is offered to the members for free, and the responsibility for that is taken by ICPAC. But then the mentors offer the sessions to the mentees free of charge, because this is the philosophy of our program. It is more in general the philosophy of mentoring. So how did phase A go? I would like to invite to the virtual stage Cleo and Christina. Cleo is the mentor, Christina is the mentee. Again, we didn't manage to bring here Yoda and Luke. Hopefully we'll manage that next time. But believe me, you will be very interested to hear from the 2 ladies what they can share regarding their experience. Welcome, Christina. Welcome, Cleo. It's great to have you here.
Hi.
And I would
Thank you for the invitation.
It's a pleasure. I would like to start with you, Christina. Just a minute, because this is important. Now, you see from the slide that Cleo works for PwC. Cleo is the mentor. Christina works for Deloitte. So, Christina, first question to you. Was this an issue at the beginning when you found out that Cleo, working for a competing firm, is going to be your mentor?
Well, yes and no, very good questions, Hoglis. Actually, recalling back, it was about a year ago when I first received Cleo's message saying that she's my mentor under the ICPAC program. And I remember very vividly that I was really amazed. As she wrote, I am super excited to have you as my mentee. And the words that she used and the way she wrote the message, it felt like I knew her for years. But then I Googled her name and I found out that she's a partner with PwC. So that was my reaction. You can see clear. Yeah, I have to be very honest. It was a bit awkward. I had my reservations, and I remember sharing this with my family. And even my family shared the same reaction. I have 2 little girls, and they were saying, "Mom, she's a competitor. You are a director in Deloitte. She's a partner. She's not a good match. Consider not showing up to the meeting. How can you trust her?" And many questions. It was overwhelming. Even though at first it seemed as an issue, but it was definitely a blessing in disguise. Cleo is the best mentor I could have ever asked for. She's a great mentor and a leader, not because of the crown she wears, but because of the person who is.
Okay. What about you, Cleo? I mean, did you feel that there was a conflict of interest, being a mentor to somebody that works for the competitor?
Okay, I would not be honest if I said that I didn't feel awkward like Christina at first, but only for a couple of moments. I quickly separated the person from the organization and focused on Christina as an individual rather than as an employee of the competition. With hindsight, our relationship took off and skyrocketed, as you will see, exactly because we have so many things in common with Christina. At professional level, I could really add value to Christina, as I could totally relate to her issues. I have been where she is now, and I'm sure she will get to where I am now. If there are any people in Deloitte, watch out, that girl. And at personal level, we are so alike, it is shocking. It feels like an algorithm has put us together, not the fact that we are the only two people, problema sola, in the program.
But trust me, it was an algorithm. Okay, so Christina, you mentioned how it started and what was your first reaction, but how has it evolved, and how have you benefited from it?
Yeah, the mentoring relationship started professionally at the beginning, but it quickly evolved into a friendship. For example, after our mentoring sessions were over, we continued spending time together. We would arrange meetings with our families. By the way, now my little two girls, they are very fond of Cleo, and they are looking forward to see her, to dance Zumba, and to spend time with her children. We would also exercise together with Cleo. Actually, one of my goals was to exercise more because I wouldn't exercise at all. And then Cleo had this fantastic idea to arrange mentoring walks. So we would go by the beach, walk, and yeah, chit chat. So whenever I wanted Cleo's advice, I would just pick up the phone and call her. I have to say she's like the sister I never had, even though we are not relatives. Yeah, she feels like family to me. And how I benefited. Actually, each and every session was amazing. I was learning many things on how to build a team, how to develop myself. And the most importantly was to find out my why. And also I had a chance to develop my leadership skills by observing Cleo. She would always do this amazing thing to create a circle of safety between the two of us. So I could trust her, share my thoughts, both professional and personal level, even that she's with PwC. So she would always tell me the truth with her own unique way, a very discreet way. You can see her, she's very energetic. So she was always inspiring actions. She would teaching me how to think out of the box, how to get out my comfort zone. All the sessions had a huge impact on me, and just to put it very simply, this was a life-changing experience.
Okay, that sounds really amazing. Cleo, I'm sure through the relationship, in a number of occasions, you provided advice to Christina. Did it feel a burden at any point, providing advice to somebody that may affect or might have affected already her career?
The quick answer is not at all. The long answer is that I'm very much a solutions-driven person, and it does not take long for me to process things and just offer solutions. This is part of me being a consultant as my profession. But that's not what I have done with Christina. As you said initially, Sophocles, it's a mixture of mentoring and coaching what we have done here in ICPAC. So yes, I gave advice, but most of the time I was simply acting like a sounding board, giving her support to reach her own conclusions. Maybe my training as a professional coach, which accidentally was taking place in parallel with the program, had something to do with it. But it was mostly the fact that Christina is a mature individual with an inquisitive mind. So she did not need someone to tell her what to do, but rather someone to discuss issues with her. So giving her advice whenever necessary felt truly satisfying and never burdensome.
Okay. Okay, very good. Christina, it's obvious that you have benefited a lot, but what was it that drove you to participate in the first place in this program?
Well, many reasons. I have been pursuing personal development for quite some time now. I did the coaching as Cleo did. In general, I love challenging myself, learning new things, networking. And just before entering the program, I read somewhere that the magic happens outside your comfort zone. And I thought that this was a great opportunity.
Okay. Now, again, it's obvious that for the mentee, it is a very beneficial process. But Cleo, is it for the mentor as well? I mean, does the mentor get anything out of it? Is it worth it for the mentor?
Absolutely worth it. I'm a great believer of the say that we leave nothing behind other than the people whose lives we have touched and affected positively. And mentoring is exactly that. It's supporting and assisting people like Christina to grow and develop, touching their lives in a very positive way. But mentoring, as I said, is not only giving. I got a lot out of my 6-month relationship with Christina. Firstly, I practiced my listening skills. We are all very good at talking, but not very good at listening. And for us, being consultants, this is extremely important in the profession to be a good listener. Secondly, I felt valued and truly satisfied by hearing and seeing how Christina benefited from my advice and my support. And thirdly, and more importantly, I gained a friend for life. A true soulmate. Nothing would please me more than seeing her achieve her goals and above all be happy.
Okay. Now, last question, because we're running out of time, and it goes to both of you. How did you feel during your last session? How did it end? Christina, first to you.
Yeah, well, it came a bit as a shock for me because I had the impression that the duration of the program was 1 year and not 6 months. And when Cleo announced it, I was like, oh no, now you're stuck with me. And the reason is because I didn't want our mentoring relationship to end and this amazing friendship we had. So I could not imagine that she would not be a part of my life anymore. Even though we did meet for a very specific season, the 6 months, and for a very specific reason for the ICPAC mentoring program, it will definitely, for me, last for a lifetime.
Okay, and you, Cleo?
It felt a bit odd, not for being the last one, but for being the first virtual one. It was in March, shortly after the lockdown. It could have been very emotional had it been the last one. But the relationship we built in the 6 months of the program was so strong, is so strong, that, as Christina said, neither of us would like it to end. So we unofficially continued to talk to each other, not on a structured monthly meetings kind of way, but in I want to talk to you kind of way. So she will call me when she needs to talk to me about something or wants to share exciting news with me, and I will call her to see how she is, like we call all our friends. So for us, and I believe I speak for both of us, this is just the beginning of a trusting long-term relationship rather than the end of the program. And we are both ever so grateful to the program for giving us the chance to meet and click.
Okay, thank you very much, really, because I think you have created something special. I mean, really a special relationship, and you are also a great advertisement for our program. So thank you both very much, and good luck with evolving this relationship even further.
Thank you, Sophocles.
Thank you, Sophocles. Thank you.
Okay, so moving now on to phase B, and very quickly, because I think we don't have much time, so I won't spend too much time on this. Just to say that we are launching phase B, and it's going to be very similar to phase A. We will have 25 mentors and 25 mentees. We are looking for 10 mentors because the original 15 mentors of the first phase continue, and the whole new set of 25 mentees. There will be criteria, there will be training, there will be matching, and hopefully the process, the sessions will start, COVID permitting, towards the end of this year or the start of next year. And again, the program is offered free of charge. Now the criteria, because I think that's very important for you to know. Firstly, for the mentee, you have to be an ICPAC member. This is, after all, an ICPAC program. You have to be working outside the profession or to consider a career outside the profession, because again, it is an initiative by the Cfo Committee of ICPAC. And last, and the most important one, you have to be willing to invest in yourselves and to commit, because mentoring can be, and I think you've seen it already, it can be very beneficial, it can be inspiring, but unless the mentee invests in time and in energy and shows guts to share information and open up with somebody else and agree the actions and then follow up on those actions and actually do something, it doesn't work. So it's up to the mentee. Now for the mentor, the criteria, again, you have to be an ICPAC member. You have to have 12 years of professional experience and 10 of those to be in a management position, because being in a management position, you develop skills that are needed or are relevant with mentoring. For instance, listening skills, communication skills, leadership skills, but also empathy and willingness to support others. You have to commit to the program for 2 years, and you have to fill in an application form and maybe take a short interview. Now, let's see if there are any questions. There's a question by George on the back of what Christina said. I would like to ask what happens if a mentee is reluctant or afraid to share information about themselves. How can that person be assured regarding the confidentiality in general? Okay, first of all, it is the mentee's decision what they bring to the table and what they share with their mentor. If there's any information that they would like to keep to themselves or they are very sensitive about, then they don't share that. So that's point one. And point two, when the relationship starts, the mentor and the mentee will actually sign a legal document that that specifies the way that the relationship will operate. An important clause of that document is a confidentiality agreement. So the mentor cannot share any of the information that the mentee shares with the mentor. So there should be no worries about confidentiality. There's a question from Petros. What kind of experiences or career should someone have before they can offer mentoring to another person? I think I mentioned a bit earlier that being a manager, I think, helps. You know, being an assessor of people, being a leader, being somebody that motivates people, I think that helps a lot for somebody to become a good mentor. The personality also helps. You have to be somebody that not only has these skills, the communication skills, for instance, but you have to be somebody that is willing to share and to support and to offer advice to people. And I think another important point is that you do have to have sort of a longer career. You know, just 2 or 3 years or 5 years may not be enough, because if you have a longer career of 10 years, 15 career years, 20 years, then you have a lot of experience, you have a lot of learnings from that career, and you will have your successes, you will definitely have your failures, and maybe that's even more important. So you are in a much better position to advise somebody who's younger and who's starting the career now. I think that's it. I don't know if there are any other questions. Otherwise, we wrap this up. Harry, do you have a question? Or Lily?
Well, I want to say that it's so great that you do, and I mean, I like to see the program growing, and I like the fact that you're bringing on board onto the stage the mentor and the mentee, and that we hear them on their experience. I mean, it sounds so positive and so exciting. So it's I was strongly recommending. I was just, you know, I was paying attention on your last slide when you're putting, you know, the requirements to see if I fit in.
Do you?
If I qualify.
Well, if you do, we'll be happy to have you. And any of you that's interested, please send us an email to mentorprogram@icpac.org.cy if you feel the criteria, and then give us your details. Let us know if you want to be a mentor or a mentee. You cannot be both at this stage, by the way. And then we will come back to you hopefully within the next couple of months.
Excellent. Thank you, Sophocles.
Okay.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I want to add on with what Harry said, Sophocles, and I think this is such an exciting initiative. And I think that people must be so encouraged to participate on the mentee side, on the mentor side, because it really is about giving your experiences, which really make the difference in the workforce and really make us feel supported as professionals. So I think it's such an excellent initiative, and I'm so excited that we're able to continue sharing this information and meeting mentors and mentees, and we continue that for part 3 as well, where we get to meet hopefully another interview between a mentor and mentee, and that would just be fantastic. So please, thank you. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sophocles.
Thank you, Sophocles.
So we're luckily to the break, the virtual break. So
yes,
even webinars have breaks, which is good. Give us a chance to, you know, stand up, stretch a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we are standing up. We are going to take a bit of a break, but we're actually going to look at the polls, right, Harry? I think all for participating, and we do want to see more engagement. We do want to see more feedback on the question side of things, but from the poll side, there's some shining results. Harry, if you want to go through those.
I can go through the questions of the post, but I don't have the results. So maybe I need your help here. I don't know if Marta can bring it up on the screen, but definitely 3 very interesting questions, 4 actually, it was a total of 4. What is the top priority for finance leaders in 2020? And I mean, it could be anything. Finance analytics is one option, finance organization and strategy and structure. So strategy and structure, finance technology optimization, or something else. So
yes, I've got the results of the polls in front of me. I have the results. So if I can, you read the questions, I'll read the results. So
all right.
Actually on the top priority for finance leaders, there's a tie between finance organization strategy and structure and finance technology optimization. So that's
can I make the winning vote? Can I make the winning vote?
Yes, you can.
Okay, my vote is finance organization strategy and structure. I believe, and this relates to the people, and I would strongly emphasize, you know, the importance of people, empowering your people, the skills that your people have, the caliber. I mean, you need to keep mentoring your people. That's another thing. Keeping them engaged, keeping them, you know, with initiative, with helping driving, you know, the strategy. I mean, that's very important. And of course, if you have the people, you can make the technology, you can optimize the technology.
Yeah, I will give the results of the other 2 polls because we're running over. Our coffee break is actually already over. 5:30 is the start of our next session, but the second one was, what do you consider the biggest CFO trend? And by long shot, digital transformation has come first. The second that second in line was shifting the focus from the CPA type CFO to MBA. That's come in second, with more operational responsibilities. It's come in third. So the biggest CFO trend is digital transformation, shining out from the rest of the results.
For sure, and I think it's going to stay for a while. I mean, digital transformation is something to stay. You know, we've got it for a long period as well. It's just getting more, going deeper and deeper into digitalizing everything.
And
the next question is about what do you consider as the key factor of your business growth? So we have lots of options here: operational skills, managerial abilities, strategic thinking. That's interesting. Financial assets, personnel resources, again, as an important factor. And of course, systems or the business assets. Let's see what the votes are.
72% of you voted strategic thinking as the #1 key factor.
Wow.
72%, followed by personnel resources and managerial abilities, falling in second and third, followed by systems. So strategic thinking seems to be the key factor by miles. So yes, so great feedback there.
Definitely. The next question: what is the most challenging for your business's financial success? So is it the right reports, the optimized account system, the cash flow, human factors, maintaining budget, or business goals?
Yes, so by close call, we've got human factors with 28%, followed by business goals, and then cash flow in third place. So, and the right reports came in on a close fourth. So in order of most challenging would be the human factor. Wow, that is amazing. So yes, that's resounding. And cash flow, business goals in second, cash flow in third, and the right reports in fourth. So yes, that's the results of the poll.
Isn't it everywhere in all we do? Isn't it the human factor everywhere, the most challenging?
The human factor, yes, resounding in the front there. So we're ready to continue with the next session. Harry, if you want to introduce the next panel, would be great.
Yes, if we can have Lana on the stage, please, and then the rest of the panelists, Jean-Francois Massaud, Dr. René Rudiger, Ewa Warosif, and Paolo Paolino. Lana will be moderating this session. Hi, René.
Hi, Harry.
How are you doing?
Good
to
see
you again.
Excellent.
Good to see you.
Hi,
Lana. Hi, everyone.
Hi, hello, everyone. Hello.
I will give the stage
you?
to Lana for introducing the panelists.
Thank you.
Talking about business
Harry.
performance management and the importance
Sure.
into
Sure,
this.
we are
Thank you.
continuing.
Thank you all.
We are continuing finance leader
If you
webinar.
see me back on stage, that means you're running out of time.
Okay, we'll be efficient. Thank
See you
you.
in a bit. Bye
So
bye.
hello everyone. It is my great pleasure to moderate this panel, Business Performance Management on Finance Leaders webinar, part 2. In an increasingly connected world, organizations need to digitize their business process to be competitive. That's what we take as a key message from Driving Business Growth panel. What does this change brings to financial performance management? And what are the new metrics of performance and how we are adapting to these changes? Are we able to link the strategy to the plan in these fastly changing conditions? We are going to tackle all these questions with our amazing panelists, my esteemed colleagues. We have Jean-Francois Massaud from Schneider Electric. Hello, Jean.
Hello.
Then we have Dr. René Rudiger from Arcadis. Hello to you.
Hello.
Eva Vorosil from Denso Against Network. Hello, Eva. And Paolino from NVIDIA. So my first question, what I would like to hear is from Jean-Francois Massaud. You're working in the company that is established in 1836 during the first industrial revolution. And now we are in the fourth industrial revolution. So how come you are still leaders on the market? So I just want to see what is the secret of your success. And second question, you have dual competencies, because what is required nowadays is that, for example, I'm finance expert and my boss asked me, okay, Lana, what is your double dip skill? So he's asking me to have double dip skills and you already have it. How come? How you are so advanced? So give us your secret.
Well, thank you. Hello, Lana. So I was not there in 18 something when it was created. I think the group is completely different and it kept changing. And I've been working in the group for 15 years. Since then, I think the size, the value got multiplied by 6. and it's completely different company I've been working on every year. So I think there is one of the secrets is it keeps renewing and adapting to the environment, which is what we are all struggling for. Then on your next point on dual competency, I think I would add a fourth one, which is even more, third one, which is even more important. It's curiosity. I think if people are just curious, getting interested in business model, in change occurring, then there is capacity to also think and change the process that we are driving in finance, to bring something else and more adapted to our peers, to the company, to the challenge we are facing. So for me, this is the most important.
Yes, thank you very much for this introduction. And my next question will go to Mr. Rudinger. Actually, you're in construction business. And so how you are managing complexity of the business with complexity of the environment in terms of performance management? So let's go to this topic.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, if I think about service industry or volatile environments, being a financial person, I quickly think of Excel, to be honest. If in such environments where things change quickly, especially in service industry, you can modify organizations quickly. It's a project industry, so projects come and go, organizations come and go. Being in finance and following with all your systems to the quick and rapid changes in projects, in environment, and in organizations, it's quite a challenge. So I must confess that very often, and I think most companies will not admit it, but many companies are still in Excel world when it comes to planning and forecasting and budget and reporting. But there's one key element. If you don't want to stick in the Excel world, then you need a rapid IT team to change the system quickly, adequately to your business. So you cannot wait for 6 months or 9 months until you can change the next system for the next quarter. You need, if you want to implement a decision quickly, you need this needs to go fast to the ERP team. A quick implementation of the changes, roll out, and then you can have the data directed from the system. Because if you miss that point within a couple of weeks, then you're back in Excel. And that's probably a challenge for all of us, because if we end up in Excel, again, that's not very efficient. That's not the way how we want to work.
So the agility is the key competence. So the capacity to swift, to respond quickly to sudden changes. Okay, absolutely. Thank you very much for this. Yes, and Eva, you're coming from digital marketing, and your motto is move business forward. So you're moving business forward with your customers together with your business for moving forward. So it's great. So it's double win.
Yes, it is. It is double win. It should be double win. But frankly speaking, for finance, digitalizing, it was part of the game for already many years. But now I feel over last 2 years, or especially last year and the recent months that COVID hit us, it has actually become of CFOs and CEOs #1 top priority. So we put everything aside and we really push to automation, big data, to have high quality, meaningful data to better anticipate and facilitate decision making. So, but this is not only financial and IT system, but other system that collect other non-financial data and other types of data. Because until you have that ecosystem connected with your customers and your clients and inside of the company, then you have only the final visibility, and then you are able to automate, to make meaningful decision, on those automated processes. So the most important is to analyze digital data to see the progress on improving operating margin or margin of your product and services. But what I also think, it's just those recent years is just the beginning, because there's further machine learning, mobility, big data, blockchain. This will be a key game changers. And I don't know, nobody knows what will happen in the finance function, how this will develop, because those are things that we cannot even imagine what they would bring.
Thank you very much. Paolo, you're coming from a high-tech company.
Yes.
And how are you using technology to model potential outcomes more effectively and generate efficient and effective use of resources? So I believe you're not using only technology to design your products, but also you are using for your operations, right?
Yes, yeah, of course. I mean, like every technology company out there, you tend to be faster than others, I would say, with technology adoption, right? So in my career, before with Microsoft and now with NVIDIA, I mean, you can clearly see that. I think the most important part is how you also, as a leader, as a finance leader, how you enable your people to leverage technology, right? As we all know, I mean, having the technology doesn't mean anything per se. I mean, it's just a tool. But how really you put your people to work with the business partners? And what I've experienced so far in technology companies is that most of the technology companies, they don't run a business. They are just developing a new business. So you want your people to be able to sit down with the business partners in a very fast-paced environment to bring the insight that they want at the time that they want, right? And that's I think it's absolutely key when you think about finance transformation and how you enable your team and your people to bring actionable business insights to the leaders.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Jean-Francois, when you come to the planning process, the main objective of corporate functional management is to maximize revenue and operating margins and increase value of the company through the execution of the plan. But now in this changing world, it is not so easy. Can you please share your experience with the planning process and how are you focusing in this digital era?
Yeah, so, somewhat more than 20 years ago, we dropped the process which is key in all this, which is all a budget process, which tend to be not so agile as René mentioned, agility being a key factor in all this time. We are leveraging much more top-down process, trying to connect, to feed them from the strategy of the company. And they feed other sub-process, either on R&D, on manufacturing, or on the commercial side. And it's really top-down push rather than a lengthy budget process. So this is the way we gain agility. So it's not so much digital-driven. It's much more a mindset shift, trying to stick much more on the strategy rather than on piling up data and building budget.
I understand. And René, I would like to ask you, I see that you want to say something, but can you share how how digitalization is modifying the way of planning and focusing business results in your company?
Yeah. I will answer this right away, but I would just underline what Jean-Francois just said on top-down planning. I mean, if I look back in the planning process of this year, 2020, it was in 2019, and if I look in our company, it was quite a lengthy bottom-up, top-down process with lots of iterations, and we discussed performance metrics back and forth for over 4 months. Occupying half of the organization, and especially 100%, nearly 100% of finance organization. And we had great targets, and finally it was all approved and everything was wrapped up. And then we went into February or March this year, and suddenly we had COVID-19 and every plan was gone. So overall, what a waste of time, what a waste of management resources, what a waste of finance resources to build the plan 2020. And probably this knowledge from this, say, hey, we wasted so many months of the company for nothing, also turned out in the way that we say for this year. We do it much more top down. We look at the market, we think what is achievable, and then we take it down into the organization. Then plan is the plan, because sometimes you forget about the cost of planning, because it's a lot of people looking inside the company, taking care of themselves without getting any revenue from the outside world. So therefore, I would really encourage people to question and rethink the role of finance. Yeah, it's to be a good business partner, but also to keep the cost down and not to overstate the importance of planning. If it comes to forecasting, of course, you need to be close to the business. You need to be agile. You need to know exactly, more or less exactly, what the next month will bring. Especially now, if we are in COVID times, we changed completely the reporting schedule and the forecasting schedule. It became more a 3-month rolling forecast, which is more or less, well, again, in Excel, to be honest, but it was quick and fast and much more accurate than the initial forecasting process we normally had. So in that sense, a lot of learnings in that period, call it digitalization or call it COVID or volatile times. But I think important is really to be flexible and lean at the same time, especially for finance.
Thank you, René. So it seems that actually planning process is also under the change, and especially because of this changing in the environment. And for example, I remember that 7 years ago, we were planning for 5 years long-term planning, and then 3 years short-term. Actually, strategic planning was 5 years, and long-term was 3 years. And we had short-term planning for 1 year. Now we have 3 months rolling forecast. So the speed is actually increasing. So Eva, can you please share your experience? How do you planning nowadays? Very difficult.
If you're talking about the speed, actually we are doing this weekly. We have monthly forecasts and then weekly updates. And we really, our finance function must be and is really closely to the business, to the clients. And due to fast changing environment and this whole COVID situation, if you don't do it even on the weekly basis, then it can have a big impact on your business. This is not only for companies who deal with services, who provide services, but also with whole e-commerce and fintech companies. They even into more in this subject, because when we can live on the spreadsheet and Excel, like René explained, of course it's doable, but they have to, for example, e-commerce, they have to invest and use really advanced system to measure how the platform traffic will look like, and really measure the performance of activity on the platform. So this is game changer. I think even this COVID situation pushed us really to the next level. And really now things are changing, and I know that people even implementing more sophisticating, some of my CFO colleagues implementing like machine learning models even to model situation, and like deep learning to help to measure the future, depending on the activities and people actions. So it is, for some industries, it's definitely fast, and it's definitely putting us all into speed.
Yes, yes, sure. So, Paolo, you're in high-tech company, and for example, for me, ideal planning would be to come to the office to access to my, or not to come to the office, to access my digital platform from anywhere in the world, from Maldives, and to actually get all the data from the environment about my customers, political, economic analysis, technological analysis, competition, market places, and so I don't collect it anymore, but just analyze and make the plan based on this. So how long do you think we will wait to have this ideal platform for planning?
Well, that's a very good question. I don't know how long it will take, right? So what I see is that on one side, the classical KPIs like revenue, margin, cost, volume, units, and all these kind of things, they in most of the technology companies, they are available at hand, as you describe it, right? So when you go through your finance rhythm, your forecast, your planning, your reviews and everything, you pretty much have everything at hand. What I see is that that is not enough anymore, right? So you need to have also other data sources embedded in the system, and you need to have some sort of machines behind to help you getting the answer that you want. It's something that is not going to be solved overnight. That's what I've experienced. So every time I had exposure to something like that, I faced a lot of issues simply because data is not widely available, especially external data, right? So sometimes you need to buy them, or sometimes it's simply not available because you are creating a new business, right? So there is no data out there for a new business. But what I see is that you need to break, based on my experience, you need to break the issue in the problem in smaller exercises and go one by one. And perhaps in the beginning, you're going to have something that runs offline and something that runs online. And then at some point, figure out how to merge the two data sets together to reach what you earlier described as the nirvana for the future finance organizations. Right?
Oh, thank you very much for these inputs, and we have time left for key messages. So I would like each of you, if you can simply give some key message, key takeaway to our audience in regards of performance, business management, planning, whichever you think you can add the value to this audience. So Jean-François, let's get to
maybe
this.
I'd like to rebound on what René and Paolo mentioned. Underline the need in all this to look externally. So when we talk a lot about data, about system, we tend to look ourselves a lot. Certainly, the true acid test for performance management is how we compare to competition, how we compare to market. All this is usually not a given in terms of data and digital system. So for me, it's the most difficult thing to do when it comes to performance.
Okay, thank you very much, René.
I would encourage everyone to be a good business partner, a good finance business partner for the business, understand the business, help the business to flourish and to develop well, and not only look on figures and performance, etc., but help the business to grow, to become bigger, become leaner. Therefore, you make finance a very good and well-reputed, accepted function in the organization.
Thank you, Eva.
Yes, I would say that even though many of the companies already have implemented a lot of digitalization, the key message would be there is still enormous margin for progression to robotics, to learning. The future is coming really, really fast. And I would say try to spend as much of your time of analyzing data than producing the data.
Yes, yes, thank you. And Paolo?
Yeah, I want to build on what René and Eva mentioned, right? So I think in the end, it's all about the value that we add to the organization as a finance people. Why a CEO would hire a new finance person and not a new salesperson? That's the question that we need to ask ourselves, right? And how can we really leverage that technology in a very tangible way in order to show the value to our business partners, right? So that's the key takeaway for the people in the call, and it's something that I stress as a message to my team every time I speak to them. Okay, what is your value? What are you doing differently, right? So that's that I would say is the key takeaway for the audience today.
Okay, thank you very much. So we need to be curious, as Jean-Francois said, we need to be high-tech equipped. So we need to be business partners. We need to partner with our salesperson, so not to be support functions. And we need to use the technology to have effective performance management and effective planning process. So I would say that is it, and we are on time. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for participating. It was really a pleasure for me to be with you on this panel. And Harry, are you coming to show up?
Hi, great session. Thank you so much. That was so insightful. We appreciate everybody's contributions and insights there. A really super panel, and we're getting ready now for our power workshop. So we thank you all to the panelists, and we're going to be welcoming Oliver Deacon, who will be doing a power workshop on prioritization and for productivity impact. So we're really happy to welcome Oliver on the stage, and we're really happy to begin the next session. Oliver, hi, how are you?
Hi, great, good afternoon, hello. Thanks for having me.
How are things? How are things in the UK, Oliver? Everything is
good.
under control.
Good, yes, good, things are going well.
Good, we're so glad. So we're going to leave you with your session. We're so excited. Harry, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Hi, Oliver, great having you. Yeah, I was having a hard time to get on stage because it was maximum 6 people. So.
No problem at all. We seem to have lost
Oliver. We lost Oliver, so we need him to get back on.
I'm here.
There he is, Oliver.
Just
welcome you back.
Okay.
Hi, thanks for having me along. Hi, Harry.
It's a pleasure having you, Oliver, and we're looking forward for your workshop. You may go ahead and start. Thanks.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, hello to everyone who's here today. We're going to have this is going to be definitely a power workshop. So we're going to be running about 25 minutes today. And so we'll be moving quickly through today's session. So for me, over the last 6 months, I found the best webinars to be those that really have a good choppy pace to them. So we'll be moving through the content fairly quickly today. This afternoon, I'm going to be talking about how you can leverage prioritization with your teams, probably a lot of them remote teams at the moment, to really make sure that you either maximize the productivity or even improve the productivity of your teams. So, a quick introduction to me. I'm Oliver Deacon. I am a finance innovation specialist. So I really like to work with finance teams to help them think about how they can move towards the future of finance. And often it's not just about the technology, and that's a big part of it, but it's really about people and mindset. I'm myself a chartered accountant here in the UK. I'm also an International Coach Federation certified coach. Previously to doing this full time, I was also a finance director at Microsoft in the US, and I moved back to the UK over a year ago now to kind of work on this side of things full time. So in terms of what we'll be talking about today, we're going to talk a little bit just briefly about some of the productivity challenges that many of you will have seen either with remote or hybrid finance teams. So hybrid being some people are in the office and some people at home. And then we're going to talk about how priorities can be used to really improve our team's effectiveness. Specifically within that, we're going to talk about objective setting, and we're going to be talking about empowerment. And really what I think some of you will find today is that you've used some of these elements individually before, but what we've really seen with remote working over the last 6 months is that all of these things brought together collectively can help teams to have a real sense of motivation, and the goal being that teams are at least as productive, if not more so, than they were in the office, without burning out in kind of some of these remote working styles. And we're actually not going to have a breakout group today. Instead of that, we'd love to get questions and any comments or thoughts coming through the chat. So Marta will be kind of quarterbacking some of those questions or thoughts as they come through. So please, if you do have any questions as we go through anything today, it would be good to kind of pick those up as we go along, and maybe even get a couple of people to come on and have a chat about some of these things as well. So if you'd like to come on and discuss some of these specifically, it would be great to see you up here. So just to start off with today, just to kind of get into your mind some thoughts around how your team's productivity has been impacted over the last 6 months. So thinking about where are the areas that things haven't been working as well. So things like maybe miscommunication, team doesn't seem as engaged as it was before, everybody's not really clear about what the main thing they're meant to be doing is. What are those big things for you that have really impacted your team's productivity, and what would you think about as those key drivers? It's really useful to have those things in mind as we go through the next few items, just so that you can kind of have a reference point for some of the things that I'll be talking through. So a quick thing before we get into the framework I'm going to talk about today is that if we focus on everything, we focus on nothing. And I'm sure many of you have kind of seen this. And the story I always tell is when I worked at Skype, we did our annual planning process and we asked the engineering team to come up with what's their core priorities for the year, the really big things that we had to do. And they came back with a list of things that was 59 items long. Their priorities list was 59 priorities long. It wasn't a priorities list, it was just a bunch of stuff that they were going to do the next year. So again, what we really want to be thinking about as teams is, over on the left-hand side of here, this is what we saw happening as we went into lockdown for a lot of us with our teams, is not only did we have the workload to do that we had before, but all this other stuff piled in on top of it. And our teams just ended up churning through lots and lots of different things at once. And so what we really need to be thinking about as leaders is, how do we really prioritize on the most important things, get real clarity on our key goals and align as a team around the outcomes we want to get to, rather than the how and a list of tasks. What are the outcomes that are most important for us? And with that focus, we can really, through empowerment, increase the impact that our teams have. Not just the activity, this is about impact rather than activity. So let's take a look at a framework that should really help us do that. So this is a framework that I work through with a lot of my clients to really think about how do they get to the end goal of increased productivity and, more importantly, impact. So what we'll do today is we'll have a little click into most of these steps and spend a couple of minutes on each of those. But what I'll do is I'll start off by talking through the whole framework. Then we'll talk through it, and then we'll recap at the end with the framework again. Again, if you've got questions or want to come on and talk about any of this at any point, just pop a note into the chat box here. So to orientate you to this overall, this is really about, we split this into two different parts. The first is to prioritize, and the second part is to empower. Now, whatever level that we're at, so I talk to CFOs about this, I work with their teams, and I talk to junior analysts about this framework, and actually this applies to us at pretty much every single level. Whether it's amazing for me when I talk to CFOs and finance directors who immediately look at this and think, yeah, I'm doing this. But actually, when it comes down to it, again, their prioritization list is massive. And so what I'd really get to is to say, what are the most important things that your team needs to be doing? And that's outside of kind of the business as usual that we do, the things that we all absolutely have to do. So our compliance work and some of those things that as a team we just have to be doing, especially in finance. But on top of that, what are the most important things that we should be doing? So let's talk through this framework briefly. So the first stage of this is to really collate our requirements and get everything together. So we'll talk about that framework in a bit more detail, but let's assume that we've got everything into one place. We then need to aggressively prioritize that list to be the most important things. Most of us have got a prioritization framework, I think, at this stage in our careers, but in case we haven't, or in case we need a refresher, we'll talk about that for a moment. We then communicate those with our teams. And what we're communicating to our teams is these are the most important things that we need to do at the moment. Now, I'm sure that all of us have seen this in companies where companies will talk about these are the big goals that we're going to go and do. But for most of us, we don't see action and the things that we do on a day-to-day basis linking all the way back up to that strategy. So we're going to talk very briefly, only very briefly, introduce a framework and methodology that people can use for that. But again, it's a very powerful methodology. Then often at this stage, what I reached with a point with leaders is they'll come back to me and say, this sounds great, but there are at least 1 or 2 people on my team that cannot use this framework. It's just not going to work. I can't trust them to go away and achieve these outcomes on their own. They just fail to deliver every time. And so what we're going to finish with today is a little bit of a framework to think about how we can trust and empower our teams. What I've heard from so many people at the beginning of lockdown, so many leaders, is I just brought all the control back to me, and I'm still, 6-8 weeks later holding on to that control with all my might. And actually, we need to be letting go of that, and we need to be trusting and empowering our teams. And so we'll finish up today with a quick model on how we can do that. So let's dive into that first step. So just a little bit of a framework here. When we're thinking about organizing what we've got to be doing, this is really about turning the, some of you might have heard of the Eisenhower Matrix, but this is how we turn that kind of what's the most important and urgent things we need to be doing actually into our to-do lists in a way that we can practically help organize our thoughts on what we need to be doing. So there are 4 columns that I encourage people to work with. 3 are included here. So essential, important, valuable, and the 4th is just anything else that you've got going on. But really mapping out what are the things as a team that we absolutely have to do. From a compliance perspective, from a if we're as accountants for our clients, what are the things we have to do? Then what are the things that are important and what are the things that are valuable? And I would separate important from valuable. Really, it's a measure of the urgency. Important things tend to be things that need to be done most importantly in front of us. Valuable things are making improvements to our team. Really, the things that drive the flywheel of improvement in our teams tend to sit under valuable. The question that I often get from my clients is, if my boss's boss's boss tells me to do something, is that essential or is that important? And I would leave that up to you to really decide about which box you want to put that in. I would always urge people to put as much as possible into important rather than essential, but that's up to you. So let's imagine at this point we've got this list and we're much clearer about where things should go. Next, we need to prioritize that list. And again, I think most people will have their ways of prioritizing, but here's a very simple framework that I work through. One that actually you can share with the more junior people on your team. Is a great way of really thinking about just a simple way to think about what can be done in any period of time. So with your prioritized task list, just give that an estimated time. And then stacking up cumulatively, what's the total that time adds up to? In any given time period, whether that's a week, a month, even a year, you only want to be allotting 60% of that time. And that's because work overruns and other things come in. But even as an aggressive standpoint, you probably only want to be putting your to-do list 60% of your time. And it's surprising, actually, even the most senior people that I do this exercise with on a week's worth of work, how far up that list that red line goes. So I didn't actually used to talk about this like in this presentation, but I found that actually so many people weren't doing this that it's really helpful. So hopefully that's an important refresher for you on prioritization. So the next thing is we go to our teams and we say, this is the most important things that we want to be doing. And particularly for that is outcomes and not the how. So we're going to our teams and saying, this is the outcome that we want over the next few weeks. Be that we want to, bring in a new system. We want to really do some great work for this particular client, or, forecasting of cash flow is extremely important. We really want to pick that up to the next level during these challenging times. Whatever that big outcome, that big goal is, We communicate that to our teams. This is the framework that we use to help our teams really get buy-in on that goal. I was talking to a client last Friday and he was doing all of these different things, but the one thing that he was missing was buy-in from his team. And so this step can really help you to get buy-in from your team. So the OKRs is a framework that was made famous by Google. Google introduced OKRs into their business within the first 18 months of being set up. The interesting fact about this is that Google were 26th to market in search, but by using OKRs, they effectively became the monopoly that they are today. And so OKRs are a very powerful, a very simple but very powerful tool to help a team achieve its goals. So what I always found as a finance leader was that the business would set these big goals, and then what we would actually do and what we would measure wouldn't really tie to that, and these two things would be really disconnected. And OKRs are a really clear way to set, to link strategy or our top goals as a team all the way down to the individual tasks that individuals will do. So in short, what we're going to do here is we're going to go to our team members and say, this is the objectives, and we're going to let them choose the metrics that will define how they will achieve that goal. So saying to them, if this is the outcome that I want you to hit. So for example, I want, the goal is that we're as effective at our month-end close remotely as we are in the office. Then the individual might say, for example, okay, well, I'm going to do 95% of my journals by close day 4. And that will mean that I'm as effective as I am. And then that person really has a clear measure that they can measure through that time period on the things that they need to do. Okay, so at this point, we've set our priorities, we've got our goals, and we've shared them with our teams, and our teams have said, this is what I'm going to go and do and what I'm going to achieve. So the problem next as leaders is that we can't, whether we're a leader of individual contributors, so people who are doing the work, or whether we're manager of managers, often we find it difficult to relinquish control, to give control over to that person. But here's what happens with remote working teams if we don't do that. So on the left-hand side of this table, we've got a micromanaged team. And on the right-hand side, we've got an outcomes-based, a results-orientated managed team. Now, if we try to micromanage our teams in a remote working environment, I'm sure you've all seen this, but a massive focus on the how. So going out and saying to our teams, I want you to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this. It's impossible to scale that, especially in a remote working environment. When you're sitting next to somebody in the office, you can have a little look and see what they're up to. It's impossible when our teams are now working all over the place. So instead, if we focus on the why and motivating our teams to really get done what we need them to do, and we focus on the output, then employees can really do their best work. And again, it's a very highly scalable model. But I'm sure many of you are sitting here thinking, well, John on my team, I just can't trust them to just relinquish control to them. They won't hit the deadlines. So the final thing we'll focus on today before we recap is how is a structure for us to really make sure that our teams can be effective. So here are 4 different communication points that we can really have with our teams to have the most effective ways of communicating with when our teams are all based remotely. And the 2 that we're going to focus on today for this are accountability in the bottom left and daily stand-ups in the top right. So in order to make empowerment work, it's that kind of trust but verify thing from audit. But when we're trying to empower our teams in the best way possible, we use public accountability with our teams in order to really help drive, that sense of teams owning what they're doing. Now, by accountability, I'm not asking people to, shame themselves each week, but instead, what we would say. So an example of how this accountability would work is, a team would come and say on a Monday morning, this is what I intend to achieve by Friday. Now, I had another one of my clients checking in with me the other week saying, we're doing this, but it's terrible. Like we come on a Friday and everybody says, yeah, I sort of did everything. And or they spend 20 minutes talking about what they did do and not what they didn't do. And the purpose of accountability is really when we don't do the things we say we're going to do, it's a coaching moment to say, why not? What stopped you from doing that? How can we do better next week? And if the focus is always on improving and doing better, we'll find that trust grows in the team and then we're able to achieve much more. And the way to manage that on a more daily basis is to have daily stand-ups. So this comes from software engineering, where the engineers will meet on a daily basis and they will commit to the code that they will produce that day. And they're called stand-ups because the team literally stand up. If you have a meeting all stood up, it tends to last about 20 or 30% of the amount of time as a sat-down meeting. People are very succinct when they're standing up. So at each of those meetings, the team go through, here's what I plan to do today. And rather than spending a lot of time on that, the time is spent on, here's why I think I might not be able to achieve that. Here are the blockers that I need help with today. And that way, as leaders, we can work with our teams to remove their blockers rather than being focused on the micromanaging the how. And if they turn up the next day and they didn't do it, we can focus on why not, what went wrong. Now, often what people will say is, well, actually, I got a load of emails from you asking me to do something else. And very quickly we'll realize as leaders is what's holding our team back is that they're focused on all kinds of different stuff and these different things coming in. And on this check-in, on this through accountability and this process of checking in to help remove blockers, we can really start to speed our team's productivity up. Okay, so, and then the other two things on here, just very quickly, weekly team meetings. If you're having very dry weekly team meetings that you're not getting a lot out of, really think about team meetings should only really be about team building, focusing on what are the core priorities, celebrating successes, and keeping details to a minimum. If that only takes 15 minutes, take 15 minutes. Every week, your team meeting shouldn't be about the detail of what's going on. Keep that for your stand-up sessions or take it offline elsewhere. And that will really help your team meetings be effective with remote teams. So let's recap on this framework again, what we've talked through today. So we quickly went through how to collate all the different stuff that's going on into prioritized to-do list. We then take those top priorities and we work through them with our teams. And we say, these are the outcomes that we're looking for. From those outcomes, our teams set their own metrics against those, what they're going to do and the how. We then empower our teams to go and do that, and we feel comfortable and able to empower them and trust them by structuring the communication and structuring the accountability around them so that we provide them with the environment to do their best work. And what we should see over time is an increased flywheel of productivity and impact. And it's what I see with my clients over even as short as just a few weeks, but over, say, 3 to 6 months, enormous improvements in their velocity or their team output and impact. Okay, so I'm going to pause to just take questions at that point. The key takeaways are here. If you would like to hear more from me on this, we went extremely quickly through this topic today. Do connect with me on LinkedIn or drop me an email. I'm always happy to have another quick follow-up half-an-hour conversation with you of how you can think about this with your teams. So we talked about updating your key priorities and then really thinking about outcome or results-based output to help accelerate your productivity today. Are there any questions or thoughts that anyone else would like to come and talk about for the last 2 or 3 minutes today?
Hi, Oliver.
Hi, Harry.
I'm joining you here. I didn't see any questions pop up, but let's give another chance. It definitely was very interesting, and there's so much more that I would want to hear personally.
Each of those areas, honestly, I can go into for another 20, 30 minutes, but I hope that as a collective of things, it really gives people a sense of kind of, there's an area that I'm interested in that could really help me with that end-to-end piece with my team.
Yes, I was even thinking, even with, with Lily, or if somebody says something in the chat, let me.
They said they don't have a question.
Okay, so yeah, definitely we could elaborate on this if we had, we could focus on such a workshop where we can engage people more and
sure, absolutely,
make it more
happy
interactive.
to think about that. We've got a question from Theodorus. What would be an ideal recommended frequency and length of weekly team meetings? I would say ideal frequency is, I would really think about meeting with your teams weekly. And that's important to keep a sense of motivation and engagement at the moment. And lengthwise, as short as 15 minutes. If your team is bored and fatigued and it's the same 1 or 2 people who are talking every week, then you really want to think about just focusing on the most important things that are coming up.
Yeah, sometimes some things I say is just to be in sync, just spend a few minutes to just follow up, but have your prioritization list ready, you know, have your important stuff on the agenda so you can be straight on what needs to be discussed and just finish with it. Otherwise, you don't want to be meeting and just, you know, spending and wasting time, because it doesn't keep you engaged.
Absolutely. Yanis asks, is it better to have weekly meetings Friday afternoon or Monday mornings? I would say kick off the week with them. And if you've got a way to check in at the end of the week on a Friday, if people commit to doing things on a Monday, find a way to check in. Maybe it's through OneNote or Evernote, or a really quick 10-minute call, but just a way that people have that accountability at the end of the week.
I say if you're checking in Friday, check in the morning, but you can still meet up in the afternoon to celebrate for the week.
I totally agree with that. That's a great one.
Yeah. Or to set the agenda for Monday morning.
That's good too, really good.
Hi, Oliver, that was a great presentation.
Very good.
There's one comment I saw in the questions section from Lenka, which says how to work with a demotivated person in the team. Do you have any comments on that?
For me, the big thing with demotivated people at the moment is to really understand their goals. So as a manager, the most important thing for me with my team was always to say, what do they need the most from me? When I went to work every day, I would think, what does my team need from me? And often with the demotivated people, I think at the moment, it's really understand about what's holding them back. What is their biggest challenge? What's really their issue, and getting behind that issue.
Good, great, Oliver. That was
Oliver,
such an insightful presentation. Yes, Harry. Sorry.
One last thing, Oliver. Are your slides something that you could probably share with the audience? Or?
Yeah, I'm happy for you to send those out to the audience.
All right.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Very
Yes.
quick today, so yes, absolutely. Yeah. We can share those slides out.
Excellent. Thank you,
I
Oliver.
would definitely need them myself. That's why I'm asking.
Great. Thanks for having me. Thank you for having me, Lily. Thanks for having me, Harry.
Thank you. That was amazing, Oliver. Thank you so much. Yeah, that really was to the point, and a great insightful presentation. Actually, there's a recording that gets sent to everybody's email of this whole webinar, and you can also download all the presentations or any slides that you viewed today. So that's it, Harry. Any last comments before we sign off? I think we've done it well today.
I really loved it. I mean, I think it was a great afternoon. I think it started well and ended even better. You know, it's with this last workshop and Oliver. I mean, it's something that I would totally put into work every day, and for me, it's something that I also emphasize a lot: prioritization and making sure that we're being productive. At the end of the day, we want to, go in at work with energy, but then live at home, and you live to go home and be feeling productive, and that's what it is. And this is what will drive performance. This is what will help business growth. This is not all the the finance leaders need, and definitely. Today we heard about some great panels. I mean, from you name it, from Google to Coca-Cola to Refinery to, DXC. Lana had a great moderation there with Rene. It was a pleasure to have him today from Arcadis, Jean-Francois. Paolo from NVIDIA. I think it was very powerful, and it really gave us the the boost to move into part 3, which is digital transformation. We've talked about a lot of digital transformation today because it's been one of the key elements that is helping businesses today to drive performance. And we've seen it on the polls as well. That is the biggest trend, and it's here to stay. So it really transitions us to part 3, where we will dive into digital transformation, and we will have even more experts talking about that. And I can't wait. I think is it end of November? What's
25th of November, Harry. And yes, just thank you to everybody. Thanks to everybody again for all their contributions. Really incredible insights. RCB for powering, RCB Bank for powering the whole webinar series, the Finance Leaders webinar series. And yes, the digital transformation, 25th of November, an incredible lineup.
Again, thanks, ICPAC. Thanks to the CFO Committee. It was such a pleasure to have also Christakis Theodoulou in the panel today, because he's part of the CFO Committee, and I've noticed that, you know, the CFO Committee has been with us and it's been very well supporting, and I think they're doing an excellent job to for their members of ICPAC, and we should continue that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Thank you. So we do have an evaluation form that will be sent out. We really appreciate your feedback, any key topics that you'd like to hear in the digital transformation event coming up, any key speakers that you'd like us to invite. So we're open to your feedback. We're open to your assessment of this event as well. So we're really looking forward to that. And
yeah, for sure. Even if someone wants to be part of it himself, I mean, we would like to hear that. Yeah,
we'd like to hear that for sure. So thank you so much from the QUBE side. Thank you to ICPAC, the CFO Committee. Thank you for all their support, to RCB Bank, to our speakers, to the QUBE team, to Marta for doing a great job in the agenda. Thanks to everybody. Harry, thanks to you for chairing. Thank you for doing a brilliant job on chairing. And yes, I thought that we ended off really well with Oliver's session as well. So thank you to everybody. And I look forward to part 3 and look forward to seeing you all. Harry? Oh, we lost Harry. Thank you, everybody. Have a lovely afternoon. Thank you so much, and see you soon. Thank you.